Okay, we're giving a tutorial about Amazon Connect, and we configured a contact center. And we did use some text to speech in that tutorial, but what I wanted to do was go through Poly and give a little overview of Poly because although it's very useful in Amazon Connect, it's also useful for doing other things. So this is just going to be a little series about Poly. My name is Steve Bonacontri. I am the CTO of HomeTask AI, and this video is brought to you by HomeTask AI. Okay, so let's talk about text to speech, and let's talk about what Poly does. Okay, Poly converts text into lifelike speech, and this is something that Amazon says. It's the best way to describe it. You type in text like, "How can I help you?" and you pick a language. And Poly supports a wide variety of languages. But in Amazon Connect, you typically have maybe English speaking agents or Spanish speaking agents. But it's true that you could use different voices with different languages. And basically, that input text uh, can be translated to output. In this case here, the sound going back to the customer is a Matthew voice, and it says, "Hi, can I help you?" And it sounds like Matthew, so that's the voice that I've chosen. Now, also you could make the language Spanish, and you could have a voice like Joanna. Joanna knows how to speak Spanish. She he the input text is converted to Spanish, and Joanna knows how to pronounce the Spanish sentence. Um, so what happens? La puedo ayudar en algo. That's Steve's pronunciation, and Steve didn't take Spanish. Well, Steve took Spanish 38 years ago, so I wouldn't know how to pronounce this sentence. But anyway, you get the point. Now, the input text can also use lexicons, and what a lexicon is you have the text, and so if you wanted to hear the sound of this text spoken by Matthew in English, he will basically say, "Have you heard of the W3C?" Now, if you want this W3C pronounced differently, you could say, "Have you heard of the World Wide Web Consortium?" So you basically, in your lexicon, you say, "I want this to be pronounced this way." And what you do is you associate the lexicon, you upload the lexicon. It could be XML or PLS file. You upload it and associate it with the text that you're converting to speech, and it would use those pronunciations. So we'll show you a little bit of that. And like I said, it Poly appears to be very simple. And like I said, if you in English, if you just use English, it's simple enough for you to use and have fun with because you're taking the text, you're associating a voice, you're saying some paragraph, and you're publishing it on your website as a sound file. And you get these sound files that where you get a professional voice and a very smooth conversation with sound to your customers. So it's fun. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it works for a wide variety of languages. So when you look at that first aspect where you just want English and sound files and stuff like that, and you record it and download it and push it to S3, you could have a bunch of fun with this stuff. And in the case of Amazon Connect, you could type any text and be talking to your customer in the Matthew voice, and the Matthew voice could be saying. Uh, for English, press 1. For Spanish, press 2. How could I help you? I see, Steve, I see you're a golden member, blah, blah, blah. And Matthew was talking to the customer. So keep in mind that it's very powerful in Amazon Connect because you're interacting with the customer and etc. But anyway, let's move on. And so we said Polly converts text into lifelike speech. But these are some of the characteristics. It does natural text to speech voices. So there's a wide variety of voices you can choose per language. So you pick a language, and now you pick the voices. And if you pick a language, maybe you have to use a different voice. But there's a wide combination of languages and voices. It supports multiple languages and those associated lifelike voices. It does speech synthesis, and it has this SSML markup language. And what that means is you can control the way the sentence is pronounced. You could do emphasis on part of the sentence. You could basically replace acronyms with words. And you could also control the conversational speaking styles. So you get to customize the speech output. Now you could use different engines, which think of this as, well, I just need a robot to tell him to push one or two. I don't care how it sounds. Just and it might sound robotic when that voice, standard voice, is making those comments. Or you might say, wait a minute, I want my customers to use a particular engine, language, and voice so it sounds really smooth and like a very natural conversation. So there's different engines you could use: generative, long form, neural, and standard. And like I said, depending on which engine you want to use, it's going to sound different. It's going to sound better to your liking. If it's a long sentence, use a long form. It might sound more natural. So we'll take a look at those. And like I said, lexicons define and reuse. You could import and export them, but they are replacements. It's an Let's say it's an XML file. It says replace this acronym with this sentence spoken, or it helps you pronounce certain things and have more control over the pronunciation of words that you're trying to say. And and you can go to Amazon and look at certain examples of the files, and uh, like I said, it seems kind of simple, but then again, when you think of multiple languages, a wide variety of languages, which you might not have to worry about at the moment, it gets a little bit more complicated, and it uses deep learning. So um, you could keep an eye on cost and see what's going on with the cost as well, because if you use standard, it's going to be cheaper than generative, etc. So, but anyway, we'll take a look at this stuff in the next video. And I just want to show you what a lexicon looks like. So this is a lexicon. It helps with pronunciation. And so in this particular file, I want to say, okay, I want to repeat this W3C as World Wide Web Consortium. So the voice and the text, instead of it saying, "Are you familiar with W3C?" it'll say, "Are you familiar with World Wide Web Consortium?" So what you're doing is telling Polly how to pronounce that W3C, and you'll see different forms of this Lexame tag and this Grapheme. You'll see the different language, the different alphabet, and what you'll do is you could try this as a PLS file or an XML file, and some things will work and some things won't, but it's only because you don't know, you have to really understand what you're trying to do and what language and etc. and what alphabet you're using, etc. So just keep that in mind, in case you want to play around with that. And then the last thing it does is it has synthesized tasks. So what that means is that I could I could uh, type down a sentence, some text, and I could specify an S3 bucket and define a path in the bucket, which is optional because the file will go into the bucket, and create an SNS topic where the, the progress of of the job will go into the task will go into the topic, and basically you could run the job. So what you after you run the job, you see the file wind up in the S3 bucket, and and typically you'd use that S3 bucket file for in an application. Um, or you could, like I said, you could download the file. You could export and download the file. You could use it any way you like. So you can go to Poly and just type in a sentence, pick a voice, listen to it, and export it and use it in your website. That's basically what it boils down to. But this is a different thing called synthesized task. In large scale applications, you might run bigger tasks. So it it all depends on what you're doing, and whether you need a notification and an SNS topic that your job is finished, whatever. Um, but anyway, let's end the video here. We're going to go through an example of Poly in a future video and show you how to use Poly.